I'm Gabriella from ImpactQA, and I will be your host. Today, we are discussing a challenge many SAP-driven organizations are facing: rising run costs. Even with investments in RISE in SAP and S/4HANA, the cost of running SAP landscapes continues to grow. These increases often come from inefficient testing cycles, high regression effort, production defects, integration failures, and heavy reliance on manual processes. But before we dive into all of that, let's meet our speakers.
Hi, everybody. This is Devjit Roy. Nice to be part of this discussions. Overall, I work currently in the SAP area, overall 30 years of experience, of which initial 10 years I worked as a core finance area, and then I switched to SAP. In this multiple years, I worked in multiple companies, IT as well as product companies, currently working in the pharmaceutical industries, and specifically as a global SAP Finance lead, and I have done multiple transformations and end-to-end implementations and supports and many in the SAP areas. And recently, we have done S/4HANA upgrade, and where I led the team in the SAP Finance area. Thank you. Over to Ramki.
Yeah. Hi, guys. My name is Ramkrishnan, Ramki for short. I bring in more than 30 years of experience in the IT field, and most of which has been spent on SAP. I worked for SAP for more than 21 years in different roles ranging from delivery, pre-sales to product management. I've spent a few years at IBM delivering SAP to a lot of our customers in India, and I've worked across multiple geographies covering Asia and EMEA. And I'm happy to be sharing my experiences on how things can be improved when it comes to SAP Run. Over to you, Sachin.
Thank you, Ramki, and thank you, Deb. Hello, everyone. I'm Sachin Sangle, Vice President of Engineering and SAP Practice with ImpactQA. Close to 2 decades of consulting experience around SAP testing, quality engineering, and digital transformations program. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. Over the years, I have led and supported large-scale SAP transformation initiatives, including S4, Greenfield, Brownfield, or Bluefield implementations. My focus has always been on helping organizations improve quality, accelerate their delivery timelines, and reduce business risks through effective testing and automation strategies. So it also includes your SAP testing, AI-led testing, new age testing right now in the market, intelligent test automation, enterprise validation strategies across complex ERP programs and ecosystems. I have also worked on extensively on integrating AI-driven quality engineering practices, continuous testing, CI/CD, built multiple tools for organizations which are leading, helping organizations to drive better quality, faster results. And at ImpactQA, I lead the SAP practice with strong focus on innovation in SAP ecosystem. That's a short introduction about me. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here and contributing to this conversation. So let's begin with the core issue. Many organizations expect transformation to reduce costs, but that's not always the case. So Ramki, my question for you is, from an implementation standpoint, what are the main drivers of rising SAP run costs?
If you look at it, most of the costs which are sort of building up in the SAP run phase is on account of the technical debt that you pretty much gather while you're implementing the solution. And this technical debt is nothing but all the customizations that you do, all the unnecessary data that you build up or master data that you carry over. All these come in the form of technical debt. And this technical debt requires a lot of effort and time in the run phase, whether it is the defects that come on account of the customizations, whether it's the testing that you need to do, on these customizations and the defect repairs that you go through, all these are basically a result of all the technical debt that you gather while you're implementing the solution. So if I were to look at, one simple silver bullet, cut down the technical debt when you're implementing, because that is what actually gives you comfort when you're implementing, but that's what gives you rising costs when you actually get down to running the system.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now my question is to Debjit. From an SAP perspective, why has managing these environments become more expensive?
Very good question. So if you think about the earlier days, the SAP landscape was often very centralized, easier to manage, But nowadays it is not the case. Even if earlier days those are less flexible, but now in the current environment, if you see, there's a multiple SAP platforms, and with the versions, various transformations, and the transition periods, there is a hybrid architectures spanning on-prem, cloud, and third-party services. As well as if you see, there are a lot of integrations we need with analytics, middleware, API, security tools, external applications, lot. Now, without current days, without having the connected applications with the SAP system, it's not easy or possible to get any of the reporting or the downstream systems, the informations about this reporting, dashboarding, everything that is very much needed. So though SAP, we are having all the data source of truth, but we need to have all the integrations with multiple layers. And also nowadays, if you see, there's a stronger requirements for the availability, resilience, security, cyber security, compliance, and the bigger part is also the auditability. These are really, really great, and these are needed as a today's environment. And that was the reason I will say it is always be in that way. The burden is there always in the operating cost standpoint. The systems may be technically better, but the number of components, if you think about dependencies and support processes, really usually growing.
Yeah, those are some interesting points. So Sachin, here's to you. From a testing angle, what hidden costs do organizations often overlook?
Okay, so I I think Ramki and they've already covered some of those points in their answers. Now let me just double click on those. Okay, from testing perspective, the lot of costs are actually hidden. Now Ramki talked about technical debt, right? That is what we have gathered over the period. Now they don't show up immediately, but they build over the time. Take an example. Many organizations are still heavily dependent on manual testing, technical debt, right? That automatically increases your regression effort, that slows your execution timeline, that slows down your release timeline. The bigger issue, I say, that is late defect detection, right? You involve testing in late cycles. Testing normally comes up in late cycles. That gives chance to defect leak to the later stage of the testing, or worse, in production. The cost of fixing them in production is significantly high. And we have seen a number of cases in industry that it has caused to the millions. Also, testing is often not very kind of targeted area. Teams end up testing everything instead of focusing on what actually changed or what actually is at high risk. That is one of the key thing. So people want to test everything. That's not the right approach. That's where things like change impact analysis really helps. Tools like SAP Cloud LM Impact Analysis, Live Compare, or Panaya, they can tell you exactly what needs to be tested. So instead of over testing, you specifically focus on right areas and you can reduce the effort. That's that's my take on it.
Nice, thank you for that. So let's connect this to RISE with SAP. Debjit, RISE is meant to simplify operations. Why do cost challenges still persist?
Yeah, absolutely. Nowadays, this is, yes, very good questions. I will say that RISE, if you go with this RISE, right? So RISE with the SAP simplifies the technical landscape by shifting more infrastructure and operational responsibility to SAP. But it does not eliminate the need for strong testing. In fact, because ownership is redistributed across the landscape, but testing efficiency becomes even more important to prevent hidden cost. RISE can reduce the burden of managing infrastructure, but the business process outcomes still remain the customer's responsibility. Organization efficiency often assume that managed by SAP means less testing needed. No, which is misconception. Even when SAP owns more platform, the enterprise still owns the process fate, integration behavior, data quality, and end-to-end validation. That's why it is more important to have the proper testing for planned and get the things done. So poor testing, if you see the poor testing can lead to the broken integrations, right? The failed business processes, data conversion errors, and user disruptions. So in this case, even if we are thinking of that the RISE may reduce the cost, but it is the fact is that it will have a lot of things that needed to be considered. The importance of the process as well as the data validations is very critical. Testing should validate not just the system, right, but the business process from end to end. Data migration and master data quality are especially critical in a RISE environment. So if I say the strong test coverage helps ensure the finance as well as supply chain procurement, other core processes perform as expected after the transformation. In summary, if I say the RISE with SAP simplifies operations, but it does not simplify business risks. When testing is inadequate, the cost shows up later in process failures, data issues, rework, and delayed the value realization. The better validation upfront, the lower the downstream cost. That's I can tell you.
That's a key clarification. So, Ramki, over to you. What are some real-world risks during migration?
So if you really look at migration, from say an ECC to S4, essentially, if I were to draw a parallel in real life, you're trying to move to a new lifestyle. And the moment you try and move to a new lifestyle, maybe more healthy lifestyle, it comes with some bit of changes, and that is something which is, a part of the, entire package. So if you really get into the new world without being ready for it, that itself is a major risk. So, for example, you know, uh, when you move to RISE on SAP from ECC, overall, you need to be far more aware about, the kind of data you're moving in. And if you are going to move all the data that you already have in your system, which is a lot of rubbish in a lot of cases, that is something which, you're basically carrying over a lot of the trash from your old lifestyle to the new lifestyle. And that is going to prevent you from moving to a healthy lifestyle, you know. So pretty much if you look at all the things that were wrong in ECC, if you consciously do not remove it and carry it over, if you take all the data without cleansing the data into S4, you're carrying over a lot of the issues that you earlier had. Similarly, you would have possibly, huge number of customizations that you had in your earlier system. If you were to carry all of them without possibly trying to remove some of these customizations, then again, you're carrying a lot of the old habits into your new lifestyle. So, and if you really look at it, if you had huge number of integrations in your earlier systems. And if you're just wanting to migrate it without really making the effort to simplify those integrations, again, you're carrying over a lot of the problems which existed in your past life or past lifestyle into your new lifestyle. So when you look at migrating from ECC to S4, look at it as if you're migrating to a new lifestyle. And a lot of the old things that you used to do, you have to possibly cleanse yourself of those before you move to the before you move to your new lifestyle in S4 HANA. So my fundamental advice to customers who are making this migration is look at all the things that you were doing in your earlier ECC days, which are possibly undesirable. Cleanse yourself of that before you move to S4. And that way you can pretty much de-risk a lot of things that you would otherwise have a lot of risks carried over to S4 HANA. That is what I would possibly advise our customers.
Mhm. Absolutely. So, question over to Sachin. Where should testing fit into the transformation programs?
Okay. So I think one common mistake is that testing is still being treated as a final step, right? It really shouldn't be. As I explained in the previous one, right? We really need to implement shift-led testing approach in all our transformation program. That's where your transformation program are really going to be successful. Now, coming back to specifically RISE, right? RISE programs are especially, you have multiple integrations coming in there. There are multiple data flowing across the system. So validations becomes even more critical. Now, as Ramki was mentioning, right, what data you are bringing in, that really needs to have a thorough engineered approach. What should be coming into your transformation system? Um, as well as now I would take that data as a source of my analysis. I would put that data, I would use AI based analysis on that data. This is where I would use AI led testing efforts, which would really add value in my transformation program. You can start predicting where you can see defects in which module on which area by looking at your past history or records, right? So you can start predicting where defects are likely to occur, identify high risk areas early, and focus your testing efforts on those specific areas. We are also saying it's not only AI, there is natural language processing you can use to identify hotspot in the application, which helps your team to prioritize better. But having said that, again, AI needs to be implemented carefully. This is not something, okay, the wave is going towards AI, let's implement AI. No, I would say no. You really need to analyze it in detail. You need to have the right data. You need to have right controls in place, and you need to have proper governance to make this transformation program successful in testing.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into clean core strategy and cost optimization. So clean core is often discussed as a long-term solution. Debjit, how does clean core help reduce cost?
Yeah, so this is really now if you say S for HANA, this is the rise with the clean core is very critical part of it. And though I'll say the clean core usually helps lower cost in the long run, but savings are mostly, I will say, indirect rather than immediate. So reason behind is that it's you need to go through the standardization process. Right. So if you see today, what is the help, what is the benefit that will go the standardization? That is what SAP is trying to talk about. Go with the standardization, fit to standard, clean core platform. The fit to standard is a kind of slogan, if you see, right? So if you can able to go with the fit to standard process, even if today in this current world also, if you go to the SDLC process and all what we follow for this moving the changes from one environment to another, if you go with this fit to standard, it is a simple process. Probably no need to have that much of testings to be done, or specifically I will say there is regression testing if you do something standard changes and do some changes in the core. So instead of that, if you stay in the fit to standard process, you will have a lot of benefit in the. But the thing is, it is sometimes it is not feasible looking into the complexity and the complex environment what we are working on today. It is sometimes it's really impossible to do that. But to what extent it's possible? If you can do, it would be the great benefit that we can get it. So clean core they are talking about, the keep the core clean in the sense less burden on the system, less customization, and focus on the standard. And in that way, if you can able to do, that means in upcoming upgrade, or if you go to the cloud, whenever there is any upgrade, it will really become much more beneficial for the organization. For example, if you have a lot of customizations and a lot of prices, the custom code and everything, for any upgrade, you need to go through the code remediation. There's a TC check that is needed to be done, and then you can find out what all various custom objects those needed to be remediated. Otherwise, your upgrade system upgrade cannot be possible. So in that case, it's a lot of cost also to involve. But if you can able to make your system standard, it will really help lot of things. It will help in all the areas. Even if you see the process, even if the testings, even if the first moving to the systems and the upgrade, as everywhere we will have that benefit. That's why it is talking about SAP also talking about clean core, and that is the clean core platform. That is what is very critical, and along with the RISE, it will definitely be helpful if you can able to make your system clean.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ramki, over to you now. What challenges do organizations face while moving to the clean core?
So clean core is I would say, it's a very well disguised philosophy, uh, you know, indicating that it's something which is extremely easy or extremely desirable. The reality is, the moment you decide to go with a philosophy of clean core, you are essentially saying that you're going to be doing another round of business transformation. Because what was being done in a very customized manner as per the requirements of the end user, suddenly you need to do it as per fit to standard, or you need to do it in a manner which doesn't add technical debt to your system. And that is another name for this is change. So the single biggest challenge when you are adopting the concept or the philosophy of clean core in your S4 HANA migrations or S4 HANA transformations is the aspect of organizational change management. Anything that you do differently on a large scale is something which is definitely going to impact large number of users. And not everybody has that ability or the appetite to change the way they work. So if you ask me, what is clean core? Clean core, I mean, what was being referred to in the 90s, mid 90s and late 90s as a BPR or a business process re-engineering. It's coming in a very well worded philosophy called clean core, essentially telling you there is a better way of doing the same thing that you were doing earlier. And that requires change. So single biggest challenge for adopting clean core philosophy is organizational change management, number one. Number two, uh, if you are adopting clean core philosophy for S4, that fundamentally doesn't change anything that you were doing in your legacy systems. The legacy systems are not undergoing any change. So, which means that even, if you need to adopt clean core, even some of those things might have to change. And that is also a difficult part. So challenge number two is uh, bringing in the philosophy of a clean core into not just the SAP S4, but also looking at all the interfaces, all the integration points that you have with multiple systems that are a part of your landscape, simplifying that. And that's the second big challenge that you will have. And the last thing is the moment you look at something like organizational change, clean core, it is something where you are talking about transforming a system which has been built up over a long period of time, and you have, created a complex system, and suddenly you are wanting to move to a far simpler system. That is something which is not easy for any customer or any organization to do. So overall, if I look at the thing, there are two different aspects. One, the technical challenges arising out of the complex IT landscape that you have. How do you make the entire IT landscape clean and simple? That is one challenge. But the single biggest challenge is clean core calls for a lot of changes in your processes, the way you work, the way you organize yourself. And organizational change management is the single biggest challenge when you're trying to adopt a clean core philosophy.
Yeah, yeah, understood. So, Sachin, what is the testing impact in a clean core environment?
So testing impact in a clean core environment, I think Ramki has already touched upon a couple of points there, right? The most important thing in clean core is organization change management. So your business users now, I want to get them ready for UAT, right? That's my one of the critical phase, and the entry point probably a kind of one of the key criteria to go live decision, go logo decision, right? To prepare users for clean core UAT, they first need to understand what clean core strategies they are accepting, right? Preparing them with those expectations. That is one of the most important thing, which from testing perspective, set building a right UAT plan, scope, having the workshops proper. So that's one of the key areas which comes in testing. Now, before UAT, there are multiple stages where we, as a SI partners or testing partners, we perform some testing. How do we make sure that that testing is comprehensive enough? Um, Over the years, you have so many customizations in the system. Now, the new business solution is really solving the real business challenges for current organization clean core strategy or not. Validating those different types, just to take an example, different types of orders. Taxes are coming up correctly on those orders or not. Having those minute level validation, including those minute level validations into your test cases, those that is very important. Now, with clean core, the frequency of changes also goes up. You're more, you get more number of upgrade, more number of releases post your go live, right? So naturally, your regression effort is going to increase. How do you reduce that? You can't rely only on the traditional testing approach. You really need to have something continuous or intelligent testing approach implemented there. You do have new age technologies available to help you with that. There are multiple tools available in the market, and which helps you for such intelligent testing. Now, there are some positive and negatives on those tools also when we talk about the testing impact on clean core, right? Not blindly using any tool. Say, take an example, using a tool for test case generation. That does not give you the right output as always. that tool needs to have, or that tool needs to build on some intelligence which is related to your domain, on based on your business knowledge. Then only your tool will be able to give you the right outputs. So building your tools or whatever LLMs you're using, making sure that that tool is trained enough and that producing right output, that is important in this area. Data privacy, again, very important. Whenever you are using any tools, you need to make sure that your data is secure, your data is not going out. One of the key areas which we need to think when we are implementing testing strategies around this space. And then even with AI, business teams still need to validate the test case. But having said all of this, if you use the right tools, you are going to save close to 70% of your time in test case generation using right tool and putting the right processes in place. That's how the testing gets impacted in clean core.
Right. So let's get into more of that. So let's talk about AI-led testing as a cost optimization lever. And let's talk about those solutions. So Sachin, going right back to you, how can AI-led testing reduce SAP run costs?
So I just talked some couple of points on this in previous one. I'll just elaborate on that now. AI-led testing is not really about making a testing faster. It is about making testing smarter. So it's how do you make sure that you are not leaking any defects to the production? How do you use the technology correctly to which will help you to have safer releases? You have capabilities like intelligent test case generation, predictive test selection, self-healing automation, which reduces maintenance efforts significantly. And there are a number of tools or technologies available to do this in the market. We are also seeing strong use of AI for defect prediction, which I touched base in my previous answer, right? So, and identifying hotspot before they even become major issues. One interesting trend in one interesting trend is your agentic AI. Here, AI agents can actually take actions like human, like executing test cases, analyzing failures, even triggering the next steps in automation cycles. And we have done that. So based on your releases, we are able to identify the impacted test cases. Agents are automatically triggering the automation suites, which are being identified based on the release cycle. So that is already in market available now. They can also assist with things like test data preparation and validation. Again, solutions can be implemented around your test data preparations, what kind of data is needed, or logic can be put in your automation scripts so that your automation scripts automatically identifies the data from the system for your execution, and you don't need to provide anything in your Excel files. Those days are gone now. On top of that, there are smart dashboards which you can build, which are becoming very important. They give you real-time visibility into coverage, risk, defects. So leadership can take the right decision. They can take quicker decisions. And all of this basically are subproducts of your AI. All of this directly contributes to reducing your run cost.
That's pretty powerful. So, Debji, let's turn this over to you. How does this align with SAP's AI direction?
Yeah. So from this SAP AI direction standpoint, if we say today, so SAP Business AI is increasingly embedded in enterprise workflows to automate decisions and tasks across various systems, like various process areas, kind of finance, supply chain, procurements, and all these areas. SAP's AI is designed to sit inside business process nowadays. So it is not like earlier it was the add-on or something, but it's already inside. And using the enterprise context to automate work and improve the decision making. So AI-led testing, if you see, it complements this by validating those embedded AI enabled workflows faster and more frequently, which reduces really the manual regression efforts. Today, if you see, there are a lot of regression efforts. That's what Sachin was talking about. It really helps to reduce, and also the total test cycles. If you see, it's really shortens. And from the production defects cost standpoint, of course, it also helps. And in the areas of, as I mentioned earlier, like finance, supply chain, procurements, is AI now is being used in is various way. Kind of, for example, if you see in the finance, it improves in the way of invoice matching, and there is the reporting. There's also the forecasting, payments management, and also if you see in the supply chain area, it helps in the planning, demand forecasting, and the procurements for the spend analysis or the resource optimization. All these things, if you see, the AI-led testing really helps ensure those automated processes stay accurate as business rules, as well as the master data integrations changes all takes care of that. And that really reduces the rework. If you see now, for the rework is really cost a lot. So each and every portion of SAP, even if the testing cycle increases, your cost increases. If you can able to reduce this defect, it will cost would be minimized. So AI led, so in SAP, that as because this is embedded into the code nowadays in SAP, it really will help. At the same time, if you see the AI adoptions, how it is really great, because now also we are looking into the practical situation, how the AI can help. It is now embedded and it is helping. So if you see the bottom line, what is the AI led is that it is really the cost optimization and labor, because it helps SAP teams to do more testing with less efforts. That's what I have seen also, and I have experienced that how it is helping. It's a prediction, right? It can also the predict what are the possible error that might happen, and this AI will helping those kind of situations, and you can get the testing done. And that is what I will say, that the vision for AI in SAP is very much there, and it's an attempt to get all the support and help and increase the productivity by adopting SAP.
Yeah, good point. Ramki, what are the challenges in adopting AI-led testing?
Okay, when it comes to challenges related to AI-led testing, fundamentally, I don't think there is anything which is very specific to testing which manifests itself as challenges. The challenges in terms of adopting AI, whether it's in testing or in finance operations or in data migration, are pretty similar. And these are challenges which are very often not activity specific, but these are specific to the organization. For example, is the organization having the culture or the readiness to adopt new technology, or is there some kind of a fear of failure? Is there a culture of saying, okay, let the others adopt before I start adopting it? So organizational readiness, how are organizations actually encouraged to adopt new tools? That's one factor. And that's one. The other thing is, a lot of organizations, particularly the large ones, they very often go through a very detailed assessment of adopting any new technology with a detailed benefit modeling. The cost that I have to incur in infusing AI into my entire process. Is that worth the effort? Is that worth the cost? So the entire benefit modeling is something which also is sometimes a big challenge. Lastly, when it comes to AI, it needs to be pretty much embedded within the testing tools that you're using, and it can't be sitting completely outside. And so all these three challenges are not specific to testing. These are challenges that you would face when you're trying to adopt AI in whatever sphere of operations. Organizational readiness, the entire benefit modeling. Is there an ROI for adopting this new technology? And lastly, how do I embed this into my actual operations rather than look at AI as a layer on top of what I'm already having as a tool? So these three are the challenges. This applies to testing as much as it would apply to adopting AI for, say, procurement, AI adoption for finance, or AI adoption for any of the other processes that you might have. So the same challenges would apply. I don't see anything which is so specific to testing, or rather testing, AI-led testing in terms of challenges.
So as SAP moves forward and AI first model, testing obviously becomes more complex. So Sachin, maybe you can weigh in on this. How do you test systems where outputs are not always predictable?
Yes. That's a real world challenge that we are seeing right now using AI, right? Now, as we move forward, AI first ERP system, testing itself needs to be evolved, to be honest. It is still evolving. Okay. Now, organization needs to understand what are the changes or shifts we need to do into our testing since AI has been introduced now and the results or outputs are derived from AI. How do we validate those? Because your output are not always deterministic now. You can't always expect the same result every time, right? Because it's being generated through AI now. You need to add additional logics or different thought process to make sure those output are coming correctly. Just to give an example, your validation points for orders, if the discounts are being applied correctly or not, the logic has been applied correctly or not, or did AI put wrong logic in place or wrong output has been generated. How you can validate it is basically based on your business processes, documentations, what you have, PDD, SDD, FSD documents, right? Making sure that using those documents, the right logic has been applied and the output has been provided. So the focus shifts to validate the accuracy, validate the reliability, and making sure the outputs are explainable and trustworthy. Now, definitely AI can also help in your testing, like the way I explained it earlier, through anomaly detection. They've also touched on this point, right? Defect prediction. It also can do the continuous monitoring on your systems, right? Which is definitely helping in current systems. But at the end of the day, human oversight is still very important, and especially from the business users, because they are the one who are running the system day in life, right? So their validation, their sign-offs are very important to validate outcomes and build the trust in the system. So, so overall, your AI-led testing is not just about an automation or doing things faster. As I said earlier, it is about being smarter and how we test, focusing on business risk and ultimately controlling your SAP run cost while improving the quality.
Very relevant. So, Debjit, what is SAP's vision here exactly?
So if you see the AI first ERP, right, the world of what does it mean? It is that the ERP environment, that the artificial intelligence, the AI is built into the core enterprise planning and operations, and not the added on later, right? So it talks about the how the ERP systems use AI for the things workflow automations, you could support predictive analysis, as well as anomaly detections and the decision support. So that act more like intelligent assistants than just record keeping systems. So earlier days, if you see talk, if you think about how the traditional ERPs that talks about the tracks, the automates the business processes, but now with the AI first ERP, what it means is that it tracks, it automates, also helps predict, optimize what should happen next. It is very much critical, right? That's why it is shifting from did the system always return the exact same answer to did it return a safe, policy compliant, I'll say, and the useful answer within acceptable bounds. It is very, very critical. So in that case, if you see, it becomes more AI enabled. The system will increasingly will recommend the actions rather than just execute rules. And also it generates outputs that can vary by context. And really, if you see it rely on probabilistics model. That's more important instead of purely deterministic logics. So in this way, I'll say, of course, AI first ERP is definitely coming up with this embedded into rather than the add-ons later, and it will give the more not only the deterministic, but also it talks about the probabilistic way, and it will make sure that the embedded way of working, how it's supposed to work, it should give the right and accurate result along with the predictions.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Ramki, are enterprises ready for this shift?
Extremely risky to give a very simple answer because, as I had mentioned before, readiness is something which varies by organization. And in fact, when it comes to adopting some of these things, we have seen readiness varying within departments of the same organization. And this is quite natural because I think there are certain places where the output of a decision, or rather the decision, is based on certain discretionary factors. And there are some places where a decision is based on very, very clearly defined rules. So wherever you have clearly defined rules, the AI adoption is somewhat simpler. The moment you have people taking discretionary calls based on some kind of data, some kind of outcomes, adoption of AI becomes a little bit of a challenge. And so there is going to be a variation of readiness across organizations, but even within organizations, different departments behave differently when it comes to adoption of AI. Uh, at the same time, if there is something general I can point out, I don't think anybody at this stage in 2026 is looking at a process which runs on an industrial scale. Any AI-driven process which runs on an industrial scale without human oversight or human intervention. And that is something which I guess is going to take some more time. It's something which is possibly linked to, the evolution of AI tools themselves. So today, there will always be room for human intervention or human oversight, even if you design a process which is heavily embedded with AI. And if you really look at it, given the fact that AI tools are still prone to making mistakes, still prone to hallucination, and unlike us, AI tools have not really been trained to say no. Because of these limitations, I guess most organizations should take a balanced approach, have a human in the loop when you're adopting AI, look at AI for processes where there is a high degree of deterministic decision making as opposed to discretionary decision making. And when you're adopting AI, look at some kind of benefit analysis also. It's not something where you should be looking at adopting AI for the sake of adopting AI. It also needs to go through a benefit modeling like any other technology, any other improvement tool goes through. So that would be my thing. Balanced approach, look at it for specific processes, let it go through the rigor of for benefit analysis, and apply it where you feel it can really help which is where you have a largely deterministic process set of processes.
So as we wrap up here, let's reiterate, whether it is RISE with SAP, clean core adoption, or AI-driven ERP systems, one thing is clear, and that is testing plays a critical role in controlling cost and reducing risk. AI-led testing is not just about automation, it's about making testing smarter, faster, and aligned with business priorities. So I want to thank all of our panelists and thank you for the audience for joining us today for this conversation.